Hello and welcome to Bingewatch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ewan, writer on TV and Satellite Week, TV Times, What's on TV and whattowatch.com. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available on Friday the 9th of May 2025, including Ewan McGregor and Charley Boorman taking the long way home as their motorbike travelogue returns on Apple TV+, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge singing the praises of the Octopus in a new Prime Video wildlife series.
And we're in the court of King Louis XVI as French period drama Marie Antoinette returns on BBC iPlayer and on the road in America for season 2 of crime caper Poker Face.
You're probably wondering what's in the news, and the answer is Will Sharp. Well, we like him. He will write, direct and star in Apple TV Plus romantic comedy Prodigies about a couple who were both precociously gifted as children. What else is in the news, Hannah?
Well, in the Disney Plus pilot Holes, Craig Kinnear will play the uncompromising warden at a teenage detention camp.
Good selection this week. I know I always say that, but we've got 3 returning favourites and a new wildlife series. We're going to start on Apple TV Plus with a travelogue. It arrived on Friday the 9th of May. It's called Long Way Home. Here's a clip.
My name is Ewan McGregor, and for the last 20 years, my best friend Charley Boorman and I have travelled to some of the farthest corners of the world. Yet we've never properly explored the countries on our own doorstep. So this time, Europe is our playground.
And we're doing the journey on vintage, temperamental 50-year-old bikes.
Well, it's more than 20 years since actor Ewan McGregor and his friend Charley Boorman, who was a child actor, he was in The Emerald Forest, which his father directed, since they did their first TV travelogue, riding their beloved motorbikes from London to New York. And they've done a few more since then, and they're back again. This time they're doing Europe, sort of going up through Scandinavia and then coming down and round. The first thing I want to say is, when they were dishing out charisma and charm, Ewan McGregor was at the head of the queue, wasn't he? Because he's just such a delight. I mean, he's a massively talented actor anyway, but he just comes across as such a nice guy. And basically, I'd like to be friends with him, but that's not going to happen. They're both choosing quite vintage bikes for this. So McGregor's on a 1974 Motor Guzzi and Boorman is on a 1973 BMW. I mean, I'm not sure this is for everyone. It probably is for motorbike enthusiasts, but I think there are some diminishing returns in this series, and they certainly seem to be filming just about everything to kind of stretch it out. So in episode 1, like, they film them going to buy their camping equipment. I'm not sure how interesting that is. And they even film them when they're trying to find someone's iPhone that has dropped down behind a kind of bench seat. And you sort of think, I know you want a bit of colour, but really? I don't really think I'll stick with this. I feel like I've seen enough of these to kind of know the drill. But the one thing that did strike me, I mean, poor old Boorman has had 2 horrendous motorbike accidents. The last one, you see some footage of the sort of shape he was in after the last one. He had lots of pins in his legs. He was absolutely, well, almost literally shattered after the last one. So I am amazed that he's still riding motorbikes and going on another of these trips. But I guess, he's an enthusiast. That's his passion, so fair enough. But yeah, I certainly was worried in case anything else happens. But anyway, despite all of that, it's just lovely to see Ewan McGregor farting about, being with his partner and his kids, and talking about his motorbikes and getting his bike all kind of done up for the trip. So yeah, mixed bag for me, this one. I mean, I like them, and I don't mind a road trip, Perhaps a bridge too far this time. What do you think, Hannah?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not something that, I particularly love anyway, but I think that the backdrop for this, the places that they travel through is lovely on its own. So take away because I'm not particularly interested in motorbikes. So as you say, unless you're a motorbiking enthusiast, would it appeal? I think take that away from it, and there are some things that do appeal, which, as I say, is the backdrop, the beautiful scenery, the things they do, the relationships that they have, etc., etc. That kind of stuff is quite nice. I suppose, to me, it feels probably this time around as a bit of a vanity project. I think that's the point. It feels a little bit eked out unnecessarily when actually things could have been combined. And there has been lots of talk, hasn't there, about celebrities, kind of going on these travel programs, just having the trip of a lifetime, but actually what is there for the viewer? And I suppose arguably here, what are you getting? Or perhaps it is just appealing to a relatively niche market. And if you are a motorbiking enthusiast, you'll enjoy it. I would be interested to hear from a motorbiking enthusiast, having said that, because actually, do they say things and do things that would really wind someone like that up because they don't know their stuff completely. I don't know, and I could be hoodwinked because I've got no idea. But that question did cross my mind. So yeah, I think it feels like a bit of a vanity project. I think that's probably why it lets it down a bit.
Okay, we're going to move across to Prime Video next for a new wildlife series that arrived on Thursday, the 8th of May. It's called Octopus! And here's a clip.
This is a story about getting murdered by your lover, about getting lost in Mexico, a competitive quilter, Tracy Morgan, and trying to find a connection with a possible alien.
He's seeing the blades of grass, and he's turning himself into blades of grass.
This is a story about the octopus.
Yes, so this is a nature documentary with a difference, and the clue is in the title. It is all about octopuses, but this is narrated by and executively produced, I might add, by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So there's funny bones that have got their hands on this, and it really is a documentary with a difference, in my opinion. So I've watched the first episode. There are two, and she does reference in the first one certain things to watch out for in the second one, and I will be watching the second one because it's just so different. I think we're so used to seeing these usual kind of wildlife documentaries, very, very serious. We see a certain format, and this kind of breaks all of that, really. And in fact, when you first start watching, you think, am I watching what I thought I was watching? It starts, and I think it's a football stadium or something just completely random, and it's just it sort of continues like that, and it's almost it sort of takes the mickey whilst also educating you at the same time. So there are interviews with enthusiasts, there are interviews with experts, and people, in fact, who even keep octopuses. And they interview Emmy winner Tracy Morgan, who had a £90 octopus in his house. I mean, he's an enthusiast. He always wanting to learn about sea life as a general, but absolutely loves octopuses. It got to £90. It was called Zoe, and they lived for quite a short period of time, between 1 and 5 years. And he said, I just couldn't keep replacing them because it's just too sad. Just too sad. Don't worry, he now has a tank full of creatures that could kill him, but that's an entirely other story. But it also goes back to the history of the octopus, and I don't know that I ever really thought about the octopus particularly, or the meaning of the octopus, or what the octopus means to so many people, because people have real love affairs with them. They absolutely adore them. Back many moons ago, a Greek philosopher called them stupid, before they became very much loved and were actually told that they were highly intelligent later on. I have to say it was very engaging and very, very different. I don't think I've seen anything like this before. As I say, it comes from every angle, almost taking the mickey to a degree, but but at the same time, you're learning so much. I mean, I didn't know that we've studied less than 5% of the ocean floor. We know so little about what lies in the ocean, really. And have you heard of tentacle erotica? I'm just going to leave that one there. Picasso got involved, but I'm going to leave that hanging. You can look into that yourself. All right? What did you think, Ian?
Leave your tentacle hanging. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So yeah, the football stadium stuff, of course, that's about the Octopus, which is great tabloid fodder because it was supposedly correctly predicting the outcome of World Cup matches. It is a good two-parter, I think. I mean, for me, elements of it had too much of the dreaded Q word, quirky. And I suspect that is coming from Waller-Bridge's involvement. But it's got some nice animation. It's got some interesting interviews. I mean, Tracy Morgan, who I think is from Saturday Night Live, he comes across as very odd. I mean, he's a massive Octopus enthusiast, but I'm not a huge fan of keeping things in tanks or cages. But anyway, he makes a good interviewee. Is it octopuses or octopi? Every time someone said octopuses, it somehow grated with me because of my Latin O-level. And I learned a lot. I mean, I think there's another film about a diver who formed a very kind of close bond with an octopus, because they're very curious creatures, aren't they? And they're fascinating biologically, and they have amazing abilities such as camouflage and, of course, shooting ink to evade predators, all sorts of things. So yeah, I learned a lot and I did enjoy it, and it's only 2 parts, so you can whiz through it, and it'll keep you entertained and informed. We're going to move over to BBC Two and iPlayer for our next offering. It's the return of the period drama Marie Antoinette. It arrived on Thursday the 8th of May, and here's a clip.
He's poisoning the people against me.
Welcome back to Versailles. Reputation is everything.
The whole point is to damage her.
You have many enemies.
And we must be ready for a fight.
You're about to pull off the crime of the century. Who can we trust with a secret that could destroy France?
You can't protect me!
Well, I have to say, if you like period drama, this is sheer quality. And it's set, of course, in the court of King Louis XVI, played by Louis Cunningham, and the last Queen of France, Marie Antoinette, played by Emilia Schuler, and of course, who's a German actor. And most people will associate Marie Antoinette with the quotation about the poor not having any bread. Let them eat cake. But if you watch this series, it becomes clear that she was very interested in the plight of the French people. It's a very cold winter, people are starving, and she is doing what she can. She and the king are doing what they can to help the less fortunate in French society. Of course, they live in the fabulous Palace of Versailles outside Paris. So it looks great. The costumes are superb. The settings are spectacular. And being a court drama, of course, there's a lot of plotting going on. And it's mainly people who need money wanting to gain favour with the king and queen, and if possible, dip their hands into the treasury to pay off their debts. So there's some very interesting characters. So the king's brother, Provence, is played by Jack Archer. He's a bit of a rum cove. You've got the king's cousin, who is exiled, played by Oscar Lesage. And the very good character, Jeanne Lamotte, played by Freya Mavor, who is planning to steal this incredibly expensive diamond necklace at this jeweler. I think it was commissioned by the previous king, who then died, and this jeweler is trying to sell it to Marie Antoinette. And this actually, it was stolen, and apparently it damaged Marie Antoinette's reputation severely. So, yeah, I loved episode 1. It completely kept my attention. I think it was very stylishly done, looks great, good dialogue, great characterization. Recommended. Was this for you, Hannah?
I love this kind of thing. I love it. And the idea that it's a real royal scandal. I feel like, as I say, I've only watched an episode, but I kind of feel like that I'm already learning so much more than the person that perhaps the history books teach us. And maybe that's, kind of made up or what have you, but it's totally credible, it's totally believable, and I love the idea that there was this sort of different side to people that so many years existed so many years ago. And the backdrop and the palace is just, stunning, isn't it? I mean, that's kind of, that makes the whole thing even more brilliant than it already is. I just love the narrative. I think it's really cheeky in place. I think the script is absolutely brilliant. And really would recommend this one.
We have another returning favourite. Over on Sky Max and Sky Showcase, it arrived on Thursday the 8th of May. It's the comedy drama Poker Face. And here's a clip.
I got this thing. I can tell when someone's lying. It's kind of a thing I do. So, who are you?
I am Felicity Price.
Nope. Try again.
I am.
Both.
Who even are you? You're one of my favorites.
Maybe. I'm figuring out how to finally start enjoying this journey,
Yes, series 2, new comedy drama. For anyone that enjoyed the first series, I don't think they're going to feel let down from what I've seen of the second series. So it's a very sort of playful how done it, isn't it? And it was a huge hit. Well, Natasha Lyonne is back. And it's a star-studded season. If you look closely, you'll even spot Tom Cruise's ex, Katie Holmes, no less. So there's some, it was inspired originally by one of those sort of TV detective shows like Columbo or Murder, She Wrote, but it's nothing like that really. In terms of it's action-packed, and it's fiery and it's fun, and it's just not, it feels quite progressive really, and a little bit different. So this season opens with, you'll remember, the very quirky former casino waitress, I should say, Charley Cale, and she's on the run from the crime boss Beatrix Hasp, after refusing to let the gangster utilise her uncanny lie detecting abilities, because she's very, very clever. And she's got the mob on her tail, and this is her trying to get away and trying to get out of every canter. She's so sharp, her quick wit and ability to kind of outmaneuver everyone gives a real politician a run for their money, I'd say, because she's just capable of not answering any question directly. So it's just exactly, as I say, you're not going to be let down. If you like the first series, I do think it's worth going back and watching that. I don't know if you agree, but I think it's worth going back and watching that, and then coming to this. But it has got some good names in there. Say, like, I've got Katie Holmes, Don Mulaney, and you've also got Star Trek's John Cho. So there are a few good names in there, and it's, I don't know, it feels pacey, and a little bit different. Ian?
I love it, and I particularly like the fact that, so yeah, her quirk is she's a human lie detector. So if you tell her a lie, she can tell, and that's how she solves all these mysteries and crimes and so on. But they're actually kind of making light of the fact that is a kind of ridiculous premise, and they kind of send it up in the program, which I really like. And she's just the character is a force of nature. She's hilarious, and I think she would be the perfect partner for Wayne from Wayne's World. But that's just me. So in episode 1, so she's going to be kind of moving around on the run, and there'll be a different story every episode. And the first story is an absolute corker. We had this quite recently, didn't we, Hannah? The reading of a will, a big surprise, the family all gather, what's going to happen? And that's happening here. But what's slightly different about it is that Wicked star Cynthia Erivo plays 6 twin sisters in it. So that is great. So obviously she's got a different look for each of them and a different accent. And anyway, there's a kind of who and how done it, as you said, in it, which is very ingenious, but it's also really funny as well. And I think this show is a delight. It's an easy watch. It'll make you laugh and it'll sort of pique your interest. So welcome back, Charley. Well, we've got to that time, Hannah. We find out what the hell you've been binge watching.
Well, I was lucky enough to go and watch Mamma Mia at the theatre in London, at the Novello, I think it's on. It was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. But it did make me go back and watch it on screen. And it just makes you feel, this bank holiday, it made me feel really happy and chirpy and wanted to dance around the living room. What are you watching?
Well, because I like something uplifting, I watched a documentary series about the Vietnam War, which recently dropped on Netflix. And if you like that kind of thing, which I absolutely do, it is fascinating and very well made. Well, we've just got time to look ahead to next week's offerings. So what's on the binge watch menu, Hannah?
Well, Alexander Skarsgård plays a free-thinking cyborg in sci-fi action comedy Murderbot on Apple TV+.
And football docu-series Welcome to Wrexham, featuring Hollywood stars turned football club owners Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, returns for a new season, yes, on Disney+. So we look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, listeners,
Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it. It began with the forging of the Great Rings. To celebrate the 300th episode of Verbal Diorama, the complete history and legacy of the film adaptations of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, including Ralph Bakshi's The Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's celebrated The Lord of the Rings trilogy, and Kenji Kamiyama's The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. Listen to the entire story in your podcast app of choice every Thursday in May by subscribing to Verbal Diorama, the podcast all about the history and legacy of movies you know and movies you don't. For the time will soon come when hobbits will shape the fortunes of all.